So
Hey.
this week, I was making my lunches as normal with my plant patty and my brown rice and veggies. And so many people came into the kitchen and was like, "What is that amazing smell?" And you're so right. Like you keep saying that vegans aren't the one that bring up vegan food. Like it's non-vegans that point out things like that. It happens a lot. Do you have the same experiences at your work?
Yeah, actually, there are these like uh, sweet potato and lentil pies that I get quite a bit. So they've got like a lentil, kind of a lentil curry on the inside of the pastry, and then they've got like a mashed sweet potato swirl on top. They look really nice and they taste really nice. And I heat them up in the microwave, and everyone always comments on them, and they always say, "Oh, that smells really good," or "That looks really good." And I don't know, maybe they're just trying to. They know if they know that I'm vegan, maybe they're just, I don't know, trying to make it seem like they're somewhat interested in my vegan food. But yeah, I do get that quite a bit.
Yeah. It just feels like vegans get blamed for like talking about food so often and like putting it in the limelight and throwing it in people's faces. But from my experience, generally it's the other way around.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And actually, I made like a post the other day, um, just talking about how like everyone says that vegans always love to tell people that they're vegan, or that vegans always talk about veganism so much in like social settings or whatever. But I actually find the opposite to be more true. Like I often know that someone is not vegan before they know that I am vegan.
Yeah.
So, like, especially at work, like I swear, every lunchtime, I can't get through a lunch with them without them mentioning something that is very not vegan. So, whether it's their food, like they'll be talking about, oh my gosh, I love, beef burritos or something like that, or they'll just be talking about meat or I don't know, some other animal product and how much they love it. Um, and a new girl started at our work, and again, she didn't know that I was vegan at all. I didn't say that I was vegan. I really hadn't even had the chance yet. And she said something about kangaroo meat, and that, like, I don't know how we got onto that topic, but kangaroo meat tastes really good or something like that. So obviously, I immediately knew that she was not vegan. And she at that point still had no idea that I was vegan. So I feel like people definitely, uh, yeah, it's a lot easier to tell when someone's not vegan sometimes. So I think people give vegans a bad rap for like, um, you know, how do you know someone's vegan? Oh, they'll tell you. But actually, it's exactly the same for being not vegan. How do you know someone's not vegan? Don't worry, you'll know.
Yeah, that's true. Same as at our work as well. Like even things like going to the zoo and all that kind of stuff. Like you'll find out that stuff very quickly from people.
Yeah, even yesterday, we were kind of talking about our weekend plans, and one of my colleagues starts talking about how they are going to go fishing with their dad. And I'm just like, "Ugh." Like it makes me so uncomfortable when they start talking about that. And they didn't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm going fishing with my dad," and then move on. Like they were talking. This was like a topic of conversation for like at least a few minutes, and I've just felt so uncomfortable. And yeah, so non vegans talk about non vegan things all the time, way more than vegans talk about vegan stuff.
Yeah, motion to stop calling fishing fishing, and the motion is to call it hunting.
Hmm.
Like how it dumbfounds me how many people are against hunting, but happy to like play the name game and semantics and go fishing.
Fishing doesn't, yeah. Yeah, you're saying the word hunting is less socially acceptable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like even recreational fishing, like if people are doing it purely for sport, you know, and
Well,
to
it pretty much
analogize
is.
it to the exact similar, like going hunting for animals, you know,
Yeah.
in the wild, like that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. It's like a sport kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very horrible. And every time I have lunch with my non-vegan work colleagues, I always seem to regret it afterwards because I'm just sat there like they're talking about killing animals, and I'm just sat there like, okay, I'm meant to pretend that I'm just like okay with this. So I always end up regretting it a bit, and but I don't know.
Yeah. Pick your battles sometimes, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, who is the animal in our thumbnail today that this episode is dedicated to?
So yeah, this episode is dedicated to Bella, who recently moved to Happy Herd Cow Sanctuary in South Australia. So I think there's a sanctuary that's dedicated solely to cows, rescuing cows. So yeah, Bella arrived at the sanctuary and is settling in nicely, apparently, enjoying meeting all the other cows.
Lovely. Okay, well, this episode is dedicated to Bella. And
Sounds
may
good.
she continue to live out the rest of her life in somewhat a peaceful way.
Yeah. Off someone's plate.
Yeah, she's not going to end up on someone's plate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure. All right. So, our topic today, vegan allies.
Yeah, vegan allies. So the way I understand it, right, is in social justice movements, we have allies because we can't be that group that's being oppressed. So we can't be a cow to support Bella. So we become allies of animals or Bella. And I suppose vegans are animal allies, right?
Okay, hang on. So, how about we go back to that first bit you said? So, an ally in the human social justice context is someone who, like, is not the victim or the person who is oppressed, but they
Yeah.
are someone who recognizes that the oppression is going on, and they can never be part of the group of people who are oppressed, but they recognize it's going on and they reject it. So they do everything they can to fight that oppression, and so they would consider themselves an ally, and that's what we're like. That's what an ally is in the human rights context. So, for example, I suppose if we talk about like feminism and women's rights and things like that, obviously people who are men or who identify as men, they're not women, and so they might see the certain struggles that women are going through, or they might see the way that sexism pervades society, and so a an ally, a feminist ally, I suppose, is someone who's not a woman but sees women's struggles, and they want to support women and they advocate for women, so they would be considered like an ally.
Yeah. And we get that in in the Black community or like gay communities and things. Like if if I'm not gay myself, like I can still be an ally on behalf of like people who are gay, like voting for marriage equality, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's speaking up for them, well, not for them but with them, speaking up
Yeah.
with them, and aligning yourself with their cause and the rights that they're trying to achieve and that kind of thing. So that's what an ally is in the human rights context. So when we talk about allies in the animal rights context, I think you're right. It's a little bit different, isn't it? Because the oppressed, the victims, they, at the moment anyway, I guess, in a sense, cannot advocate for themselves. So I don't agree when people say that animals don't have a voice and that they can't in a sense, speak up for themselves. I very much think that animals in all of their behavior do protest what we do to them. So I don't think a cow in a slaughterhouse or any animal that's kind of being abused in some way, or when a dairy cow has her calf taken away from her, I do believe, and I have seen footage of the animals actually protesting that. Like, they will yell, they will scream, they will try and run away or escape, or so I think that in a sense animals can actually speak for themselves in a way, and they can definitely show us that they protest what is going on, and that they don't want that to happen. Whether we listen to them or not, often we don't listen to them, but it doesn't mean that they're not showing us signs that they're protesting. So I was saying that because there's this view of like animals being voiceless, animals, that humans need to kind of speak up for the animals, and I think that they do. But I just want to say that I do actually think that animals, to an extent, can protest and show us that they don't like what is happening, and they don't want that to happen.
Yeah, maybe we're just kind of amplifying their voice.
Yeah, we
Because
are.
we do live in a human-centric world that ignores other groups. So it's more like amplifying their voice and bringing their voice into spaces so it can be heard.
Yeah, we're amplifying. That's right. We're amplifying their voices. I suppose in a sense, they can't articulate everything. They obviously don't speak human languages. Like I said, they can scream, they can yell, they can physically try and fight as a way of protest, but they can't actually communicate in human languages. So I suppose we're, as vegans, we're kind of like seeing what's going on. We can see that it's not in the animal's best interests, and then we can articulate it in a way that, in human languages, I suppose.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So given that, what is our current understanding of a vegan ally?
So I guess, like, if you were comparing what's going on with animals to human social justice issues, the vegans themselves would be the allies. So, like, we are the allies to the oppressed, the victims who are the animals. So, like, as vegans, we're already allies to the animals. So then the term vegan ally, I think you would agree, Mark, it's confusing. I don't like it. I've never used that term myself, but I've seen it being thrown around. But to be a vegan ally, it's like you're an ally to the allies of the animals, which I think is, I don't like that term. But what do you think it means to be a vegan ally?
Yeah, when you break it down it sounds a bit nonsensical. And also welcome to Contrarian 420 and Keystone Vegan Advocacy. Welcome, both of you. If you have any thoughts as well, just pop them in the chat. But yeah, like when you compare it to like how we treat human issues and line it up like that, it just sounds ridiculous. Like the animals already have allies, that's us, and then apparently we're supposed to want allyship from other people. Like a vegan ally sounds like someone that's supporting vegans. So
But they're not
one
vegan
example,
themselves. They're not vegan
the vegans
themselves.
themselves, exactly, not the
They're
animals.
just,
So
yeah.
let's say you are a university student studying this year, and you're required to use an animal product in your study, or like dissection or whatever, and you protest against that, and you're getting pushed back from the university. No, you have to experiment on these animals to pass your course. Then I think you could have a vegan ally in the sense that people are standing up for your right as a vegan to oppose animal testing. So the ally would be supporting the vegan, but not necessarily the vegan's cause, just the vegan's rights to reject, based on ethical principles. Does that make sense? Like, it's a bit kind of roundabout, but that's how I imagine a vegan ally would be. And in a similar way, if you had parents who were supportive of you as a vegan, but not vegan themselves, I think they're supporting you as their child, or I don't think they're a vegan ally. I think they're an ally to you as a person, but not necessarily because you're vegan. Like, they would support you for any other cause, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Is that making sense? Like, they're an ally of the person, but not their principle.
Yeah, yeah. So anyone, yeah. Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it? It's like, if someone, so the way I think of a vegan ally, and I don't know who actually coined the term originally, but I know that Melanie Joy, like, was the one that I heard it from, and she's talked a bit about it. And I could be wrong, but my understanding of like what she would consider to be a vegan ally is someone who kind of supports the vision of veganism but is not a vegan themselves. So I guess ways like maybe your examples are good ones of, supporting the vegans to stop animal testing within the unis and that kind of thing. So I guess it is anyone that kind of supports vegan related issues. So they might even maybe support like a particular vegan or animal related campaign or something like that. What do you think Melanie Joy means by vegan ally? Like, have you heard her talk about it?
So just to backtrack a little bit, I think it kind of started with like Leslie Cross and that back in the day. And they were trying to work out who gets membership to the Vegan Society or whatever it was called at the time. There's a little bit of writing about that, but it's not exactly clear what they mean. The kind of essence that I got is that they're willing to accept assistance from people, but you had to be vegan to actually be a part of the leadership and decision making and things like that. And
Okay.
so I think that's a way of like not getting rid of donors and support people, right?
That does seem to be what might be underlying it. I just did a quick Google and found this on the issue. So this is a Facebook post by Melanie Joy from a couple years ago, and it says,
Is it
"You
possible
don't
to put
have."
it up on the screen?
Hey,
Is it possible to put it up on the screen? Do you know how to
it's
do
on
that?
my phone.
Oh.
It says, "You don't have to be fully vegan to be part of the solution and help create a better world for animals. You can be a vegan ally, a supporter of veganism and vegans, even though you're not yet fully vegan yourself. Just try to be as vegan as possible and use your influence to support the cause. You can donate to vegan organizations, write articles about the consequences of animal agriculture, request vegan options at your school cafeteria, and so on. What are some ways you think someone could be a vegan ally? Share in the comment section below." So, and then it says, just in quotations, "A vegan ally is a supporter of veganism and vegans, even though they aren't yet fully vegan themselves." So,
I hate that phrase, like, as vegan as possible. Like, isn't that what vegans are? As vegan as possible?
well, yeah, that's the
Like,
thing.
if you
Yeah,
are as vegan as possible, you're vegan.
yeah, yeah,
Like, that's kind of contradictory.
yeah. I don't know. I think it's like, why do we need to even say, why do we need to even like have that as a term, vegan ally? Like, just either be vegan or work towards being vegan. Like, I don't understand. Like, why would someone want to support the vegan cause when they're not vegan themselves? Like,
Yeah.
why would you care about the vegan cause? You obviously don't care enough to be vegan. So why, like,
Yeah.
I don't
I
really get it.
think, yeah, they're sympathetic to animals, but they don't agree with the principle of veganism. So like
Yeah.
they're sympathetic to reducing animal suffering, but maybe they don't agree with the right of animals not to be enslaved by others.
I don't even know if it's that. I honestly think it's more of just that they might agree kind of with veganism, but they don't want to change, or it's not convenient for them to change. So,
So they're
and
hypocritical.
I don't like the way Melanie Joy has worded that, because it's almost like praising that, like giving people an excuse. Like, don't worry, you don't have to be vegan, actually. You can just be a vegan ally. Like, it's such a cop out, and it's like giving people permission to not be vegan and instead just support the vegan cause in other ways. Like,
Yeah.
I just, yeah, it just, nah, gives me the ick.
Yeah. Thanks, Keystone, as well, for letting us know about this. The Vegan Society needed skilled supporters with certain skills. The associate membership was available till at least 1979. So I think associate was you didn't have to be vegan, if I understand that correctly. But you couldn't contribute to like leadership roles and things like that. So yeah, I guess at the time when there probably wasn't that many people, they needed help from other people. And I guess maybe that's what Melanie Joy and others are trying to do is they recognize that there's not that many vegans and we need bodies to do stuff but not go vegan. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. I just think I don't think vegans are the ones that need allies. I think animals need the allies. So, like as a vegan, I don't care about non-vegans trying to be my ally. Like, I don't need allies. The animals need allies. And to me, the only way to be an animal ally is by being vegan, which, again, to remind people, means that you refrain from exploiting them or causing harm or cruelty to them as far as is possible and practicable. So, if you really care about animals and you want to be an animal ally, you need to stop exploiting them and causing harm to them as far as is possible and practicable. So, anyone that doesn't stop exploiting them or causing cruelty to them as far as is possible and practicable, to me, just is not an ally. Like,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, maybe I'm seeing it too black and white. I tend to do that. I tend to be a bit of a black and white type person. I acknowledge that, but that's kind of just a bit about how my brain works. But yeah, I tend to see things a bit in black and white. Like, either you're trying the very best that you possibly can not to use animals, or you're not. And if you're not, then I don't see you as an ally to animals or to vegans or whatever. Like, you're just not an ally. Like, I think this whole idea of a vegan ally is just trying to make non-vegans feel better about not being vegan, and I don't see that
Yeah.
as helpful.
I think I know why you feel like black and white about a lot of things is because when we talk about human issues, it is very black and white. Like we have this principle, and if you don't agree with the principle, then you're not a part of that ethical group.
Yeah.
And we hold people accountable to that. Whereas I think because animals like they're not voiceless, but they can't articulate their rights. They
Mm.
have someone on behalf of them to do that. Because they can't hold non-vegans accountable, non-vegans can just kind of make up their own gray areas wherever they like.
Mm.
And so it does become this like gradient space where we wouldn't do that for human rights. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like you don't have to agree with like the right for gay people to not be oppressed. Just do the best that you can. Like we would never say stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like, oh, um, you can vote no for gay marriage and still be a gay ally if you don't tell, homophobic jokes, or you don't use homophobic slurs. Like, you can do those things and you can still vote no for gay marriage and still be a gay ally. Like, I don't know. That's kind of how it seems in my head. The analogy. I don't.
Yeah. And I think because we don't do that with humans, like I think because we see things very like comparable to human issues and like ethically. But I think because other people don't see that comparison, then it's a totally different issue, and there's all that gray areas. And we
Yeah.
go from this, when we look at humans in the practical sense, it's very like rule based. But then when we look at animals, because there's no one to keep people accountable, it's very consequentialist.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I just want to address this comment.
Sure.
If you're raised meat eating, then it will take time to realize why it's wrong and unhealthy. If you tell such a germinating vegan that they can't be involved or are bad, then you risk stifling them. I would never tell like a germinating vegan or any non-vegan that they can't be involved or that they're bad. I would never say that. I'm always encouraging of people to take that step to becoming vegan. So I think we're not saying that we're telling people they can't be involved or that they're bad. It's just that we do need to have some kind of like baseline and integrity around what we expect of people. And if you really are an animal ally, you really should be expecting nothing less of people than for them to be vegan, because they need to be doing all that they can that's possible and practicable to not exploit animals if they really care about animals. So I think having expectations of people to be vegan is not really that extreme, and it's not like we're not saying they can't be involved or that they're bad. We're just saying like if you really care about animals, like being a vegan ally, it's not enough. It's not really that helpful. Like you need to actually just be vegan as a baseline. And then sure, once you're vegan, like keep going, keep doing more if you can, support certain, organizations or that kind of thing. Like, but veganism is the baseline. So I think wanting people to do better and to be better is not telling them that they're bad or anything. It's just telling them, okay, so you're interested in helping animals. That's amazing. That's awesome. But like that really does require you to be vegan, and how can we help you go vegan? So I think it's okay to expect more from people.
Yeah. There's a bit of a taboo maybe in our culture at the moment for expecting people to have a certain standard of ethics, maybe.
Yeah, and I suppose, like you say,
Well,
accepting such people as allies allows you to maintain your pure group while accepting their help. I get that, but I guess the worry is like I still do think we need to keep pushing them to do more, like to be vegan and to make that step, because my worry is that, allowing like people to be allies, and kind of accepting them into the group, no, hang on, you said allies allows you to maintain your pure group while accepting their help and participation. My worry is that by using this term of like a vegan ally, you can be a vegan ally, it's almost giving people a way out to not be vegan. And it kind of I'm worried that it might make them think, oh, just being an ally is enough. I'm an ally, that's enough. I don't need to be fully vegan. And from reading that Melanie Joy post that I read out before, that's very much the message I was getting from it. Like, you don't need to be vegan. You can just be a vegan ally. That's enough. That's fine. Like, and I hate that idea. I think, no, you've got to be vegan if you care about animals at all.
And also on the flip side, which we rarely talk about, is vegans becoming non-vegan. Like there's plenty of vegans out there that go back on their principles, and like what a good scapegoat that Melanie Joy has given them to be like, oh, cool. Like I was vegan, but like I can still be a vegan ally, but I can get away with this other stuff. Like we're constantly thinking about helping non-vegans become vegan, and the germination involved. That's an interesting term, contrarian. The germination of vegans, but we also need to be wary of like people going from vegan to non-vegan, because there are so many people out there that have changed their ideology because they've been convinced that they can participate in exploitation but still help animals.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it might actually help some people go backwards. Like they were
Yeah,
vegan and now they think, oh, you know what? I'm actually just going to be a vegan ally because that's easier. So I'm gonna, exploit animals in the ways that I want to or that are convenient for me, but I'm still going to help the cause by doing X, Y, Z.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's risky.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, look, I like like I think the idea of like having allies is kind of good in a sense. Like I get what you're saying that like you have best access to push them when they're allies. True, but we don't need to tell them to be non-vegan allies. You know what I mean? So like
mm,
we don't need to encourage them to be non-vegan and an ally, like I think there are already lots of people out there who are not vegan that maybe would consider themselves allies, and we need to be encouraging them to keep taking that step to be vegan rather than just stopping there and being like, okay, cool, you're an ally, that's great, no need to do any more. So yeah, I like it's good to have allies, but we need to keep encouraging them to be vegan, not just kind of applaud them for being allies and stopping there and not expecting more from them.
yeah. It's that anointing them as allies because it is inviting them into the pure group, as Contrarian said.
Yeah.
Like, how
Yeah.
much of an ally? Like, this is the semantics bit, but like, you're not an ally of animals if you're not vegan. So like everybody's a vegan ally then, right? Because they love animals. That's what they tell us. Like they love their pets, so they're vegan allies, right? Like what is a vegan ally? But how much could you possibly be an ally while you're still participating in exploitation?
Yeah. I want to ask you, Contrarian. So that first sentence that was in Melanie Joy's post that says, you don't have to be fully vegan to be part of the solution and help create a better world for animals. That first sentence, you don't have to be fully vegan. Do you think at all um, do you see a problem with that at all? Do you think that it could just make non-vegans feel better, or like it? What's the word I'm trying to think of? Like it, like is giving them permission to not be vegan? Do you kind of? I want to know what like. I want to see if we can find some common ground, and if you can kind of see where like we're coming from with that. Um, But yeah, that first sentence is the one that kind of bothers me most. You don't have to be fully vegan. Like this is a supposed vegan. I don't know. Is Melanie Joy vegan? I suppose that she is,
She
but
could be a vegan ally, I guess.
who knows? Let's assume if she is vegan. This is a vegan saying you don't have to be fully vegan to be part of the solution. Like I think
Yeah.
that's very problematic for a vegan to be saying that. It's like for a vegan to be giving people permission to not be vegan, pretty much. Yeah.
Here
You
we go.
agree? Okay, you agree with it. Like you agree with what she's saying then. Okay, but do you think that some non-vegans could read that and take it as like permission not to be vegan?
Or vegans to be permission not to be vegan.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like, I'm at a party, I'm vegan, but I don't have to be fully vegan. It's like maybe I'll eat that cupcake and all this.
Hmm.
Many people. What, like, contrarian, what is your idea of animal allyship? Like, is it actually being an ally to animals or is it being an ally to vegans? Because I think they're two very different things. Like, I don't think you can be an ally to animals if you don't believe that exploitation is wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
I
you can't
actively
be an
support several animal sanctuaries.
you
Yeah,
can't be an ally to people who are gay without thinking that exploiting gay people is wrong. You can't be an ally for any cause without thinking the exploitation of that group is wrong. So, like,
Well, yeah,
I think that's a fair standard to uphold. I think that's a fair standard to uphold.
yeah, I agree. And I don't think you can be an ally to any group if, you know, you are still you know, either exploiting them or contributing to that oppression. So like I don't think you can be an ally to women or like, you know, a feminist or whatever, if you're still, I don't know, going around saying really sexist stuff or using sexist slurs or, you know, thinking that women shouldn't have the right to vote, you know, back in the day, like, and things like that. I don't think you can be an ally to someone whilst you are actively, yeah, exploiting them. And that's what non-vegans are doing. Like, how can you be an ally to animals while you are actively exploiting them unnecessarily as well? Like, can you be an ally to animals? Can you be a vegan ally if you still eat steak? Or, you know,
I
you
guess you
still
can.
fry your eggs up in the morning and eat eggs? Like, I just don't understand how you can, yeah.
And this is interesting from Keystone. As Cross put it, I suppose that's Leslie Cross, someone's honest best was expected given their current circumstances. See, I think this is the problem with like the animal social justice movement is we're kind of relying on people's honest best and like people just saying, oh yeah, this is my best. And the standard is very, very low. Whereas like when we have human issues, like the humans that are oppressed can hold you to the standard that they are that they find acceptable. Like if we were to be honest about this, if animals could rationalize what was going on, I do not think they would be okay with someone's quote honest best as the standard.
Yeah, well, hang on, but by honest best, doesn't that just mean the same as like possible and practicable? Like, isn't that what we're doing as vegans? Like, we're doing our honest best?
Well, I think there needs to be some kind of rule base to that. Like you can do your honest best, but there needs to be some kind of like practical way that we can hold that to accountability.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and that
And
is
that's
also
being vegan, right? That's the whole point. Is the possible and
sure,
practical. That is being vegan.
sure. And I mean, there is a bit of contention around like what what is possible and practicable and what is your honest best, and that kind of thing. So maybe, yeah, but I mean, I certainly think that someone who is not vegan but can be vegan, so someone who eats a bit of meat sometimes or has some dairy sometimes or something like that, and they don't need to, like they could be vegan, that's not their honest best, you know. And
Yeah.
so, and I think
But they could say that it's their honest best, right?
they could say that it's their honest best, I
And we have to take their
suppose.
word for it, right?
Yeah, so it's very hard to measure honest best.
Yeah.
Um,
They should
but
be judged by a jury, like we do with humans.
yeah, but yeah, yeah, and that's why I think this vegan ally thing, this label, is not helpful, because I think it's encouraging people to almost not be doing their honest best. Like, it's saying you don't have to be vegan, you can just, you know, I mean, but then it says try and be as vegan as possible.
That's vegan.
But yeah, then that is kind of vegan. Like, vegan as possible is being vegan. Like, we're as vegan as we possibly can be, you know, like that's just part of being vegan. Like,
Yeah.
so if you're as vegan as possible, then I'd say you're vegan,
Yeah.
right? It's a bit confusing, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's nonsensical, to be honest.
Mm.
There was a comment that I wanted to read out. And you guys type so quick, Contrarian and Keystone. I can't keep up with the comments. There was something about like everybody. Oh, here, anyone of any category supporting animals reduces net animal suffering. This is the thing about standard, is we would never say that about any other social justice movement. Like, we never use that metric of like, oh, here's someone that abuses their wife, but oh, cool, they donate heaps of money to International Women's Day. So that's probably outweighing the bad that they do, right?
Or like a DV shelter.
Yeah,
Like
they
they
give
they are
tons
part of
of money. They give
they are
tons of
part
money
of
to
the
people.
problem. They are part of the problem because they are directly abusive, but they donate to a DV shelter, so they're still an ally. Like that's just nonsensical, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't use this way of ethics in any other realm. Like, I think we need to use the ethical principles that we've kind of already developed, and then apply those to animal rights, because we can't keep animals in this like ethical gray space. Like, we need people to either choose a side. Otherwise, they're forever going to be in this gray area of, oh, we're just reducing suffering where we can, and there's just no accountability to that.
I agree. I agree. Accountability. We need to keep pushing for a better world, and yeah, things like this, I think, just give people
Yeah.
permission to not do their best and to just take another way out. And it's a classic kind of like welfarist mentality as well, because especially like all of the big kind of welfarist organizations, they kind of do put out this message of like I've seen Animals Australia, who is the biggest animal welfare organization in Australia. Animals Australia have said similar things to this, like this kind of idea that you don't have to be vegan, but you can still help by donating to us so that, we can ask for better welfare for animals and that kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, donations. And even Melanie Joy mentions here, you can donate to vegan organizations. It's like donating, like, I don't know, animals, we don't need more money in this movement. We need people to actually just be vegan and advocate for veganism.
Yeah. With this comment, to we're looking at the small percentage of people under the microscope when the vast majority of people are daily meat eaters. I guess part of the reason why we're talking about this is we have to decide in our advocacy whether to include people that are not vegan. So just an anecdotal example is we had a activism day, maybe 2 months ago, I think it was, where a lady came along to help us, but she wasn't actually vegan. Do you
Oh,
remember that?
yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And we had to decide this allyship thing, on the spot. So I guess this is why we're thinking about it now. So then we can decide for future whether we have vegan allies helping us advocate for veganism.
Like, you know what? If someone wants to help us advocate for veganism, cool, but like they also should be vegan. And so yeah, we kind of let her, we didn't, like, she came all the way to the city to like help us out, and we thought we just assumed she was vegan when she rocked up to our event. But then after like talking to her for a little bit, we realized that she still, I think maybe she's vegetarian or something, so she still consumes a bit of like dairy and that kind of thing. And when I found that out, like, she mentioned it, and I was a bit like taken aback, but I kind of thought like, okay, I was a bit uncomfortable because I thought, if she's not vegan and she's helping us do activism, what is she going to be saying to the non-vegans? Like, is she going to be kind of saying like this vegan ally thing? Like, is she kind of going to be saying like, oh, well, you don't have to be fully vegan as long as you do something, like, and I wasn't comfortable with that. But so we tried to make it clear to her, look, at this activism event, we are only promoting like veganism as a baseline. So we're not promoting like vegetarianism or anything like that. And then she kept saying, she was like arguing with us and kept saying back to us like, oh, but anything helps, and it's all good because it all helps and it's better than nothing and that kind of thing. And I thought, she's trying to convince me, but it's like she's also convincing herself that what she's doing is okay. Like, she's convincing herself that her being vegetarian is fine and she doesn't need to be vegan, she doesn't need to do more. And so I think that was maybe a good real life example of why, like, I guess our views about this being kind of a bit, that this is kind of harmful, is, yeah, we have seen it in real life, like vegetarians just convincing themselves that they're fine where they are. They don't need to take that next step to be vegan. They can just stay where they are because they're still helping and it's better than nothing. And,
Yeah, I think it's important to keep like a high standard of ethics.
What's the missionary point? Curious to hear your take on my missionary point above.
This one here.
Oh, I didn't see that one. A missionary doesn't demand his converts 100% converted before he talks to them.
Do you mean like even if you don't fully believe in that particular religion, you can still convert other people to be in that religion? Like Mother Teresa did?
Well, I mean, the only reason you would be... Hang on. Missionary doesn't demand his converts 100% talks to them. But isn't the reason that you'd be talking to them is to try and keep converting them? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't expect people to be 100% vegan for me to talk to them about veganism. But, like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not religious myself, so maybe I don't get the reference as well as you might, Mark. What do you think it means?
I don't know. It could either be... Not sure. I'm assuming from Contrarian's view, it's like you can send out people that aren't fully convinced to convert others.
Right.
But,
yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of a strange idea. It's a bit of a foreign idea to me because I kind of think, why would you try to be converting someone to do something that you're not even doing yourself? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a foreign idea to me.
Like, would you let a... Yeah, like we focus on vegetarians, funnily, because it's like they don't eat meat. But why can't a meat eater come out with us and advocate for veganism?
Yeah.
And when people go, oh, like, how do you do that? Isn't being vegan hard?
Yeah.
Like,
just
wouldn't that be a funny conversation? Like, if we had a non-vegan trying to be like, yeah, you should go vegan, like, and then they're like, oh, like, isn't it hard? Like, how do you manage it? And then they're like, oh, well, I don't. Like, I'm not actually vegan. Like,
yeah,
that comical?
That'd be awkward. Just to finish my story, I suppose we didn't send her away, did we? We kind of let her... She came all that way into the city and we kind of let her join us, but we definitely just made it clear to her. We said, look, we're here to advocate for veganism, nothing less. And we said, because she had also brought her own flyers that she had made, and I had a quick look at them, and I think it said something about like vegetarian on there or something. And I was just like, no, I didn't like it. So I said, if you're going to participate with us, like, can you use our flyers, please? And, use our flyers, advocate for veganism. That's what we're here to do. So I think we let her stay and help out. And she was mostly just handing out our flyers. So
and yelling at people.
It was okay. Yeah. But then, yeah, she was a little bit, just a bit aggressive, like swearing at, like, because some people come up to us and they just try to, take the piss and then just, not kind of having a go at us, some of the random non-vegans on the street. And she was getting annoyed at them and kind of like swearing at them and stuff like that.
The irony.
And so I didn't really like that, but we kind of just... I don't think we did see her again. I don't think we did see her. But we didn't tell her to go away or anything. We were just, telling her that, hey, while you're here, like, this is what we are here to do. So if you're going to join us, like, you you're going to do the same thing that we're going to do, kind of thing. So like, we're not here to promote vegetarianism. So I think that was fair enough. And if she doesn't want to come back, that's her problem. But I think we did the right thing, because we have to have some kinds of boundaries, and we are there to advocate for veganism. And we just made that clear to her, and we let her stay. So I think we did the right thing.
I didn't realize I was way more like stringent than you on this issue. Like,
you would have turned her away?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I would have asked her why she isn't vegan, and then done the advocacy for her. Like, we're not literally just like saying, "Oh, you're not vegan, go away." Like, I would have potentially tried to say, like, "Well, we're trying to convince people to be vegan. Why are you not?"
Yeah,
just like anybody else. Like, why are we treating her like anybody else? Like, everybody loves animals. Like, Joe down the street loves animals. Maybe he can talk to people. But again, like, if I'm talking to people about veganism and they say, "Oh, look at all you vegans, like, aren't all of you vegans unhealthy?" And I'm like, "Well, that lady there, she's not actually a vegan." Like, what kind of like standing do I have? Like, I'm just like, surely that's just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
Like, I would not feel comfortable taking a non-vegan out to advocate for veganism. So that's why we're talking about vegan allies, right?
Yeah. I'm just quickly looking back through some comments, because while I'm talking, it's hard to read and talk at the same time. Yeah, okay. What's this one? As Donald Watson put it, people need to be ripened up to the idea animal commodification is still legal, spousal abuse isn't. Yeah, that's true. I agree with that, but I still think, I still think that as vegans, like, vegans are people who have realized, right? Like, we're the ones supposedly who have realized that animal exploitation is wrong, and we've decided to change our behavior to align with that belief. So I think if you've had that realization and you hold that belief that animal exploitation is wrong, I think it's best to be quite staunch in that idea and try and educate people about that, and promote veganism as a moral baseline. So just because animal commodification is still legal and lots of people do it and it's the norm, it doesn't mean that vegans should kind of soften their advocacy, I think.
Like, lower their expectations.
Yeah, lower their expectations. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think just because it's still legal and most people still do it, doesn't mean we should kind of be more accepting of it, and, lower our expectations of people. So that's just my view anyway. But look, we hold quite staunch views about this, but when we talk to non-vegans about it, like, I think people have the misconception that because vegans like us are quite staunch about it, that that by being that way, we turn non-vegans off the idea somehow. But actually, when we talk to non-vegans about it, like, there is a way to have certain expectations and like promote veganism as a moral baseline, whilst also like advocating in a very reasonable and rational way. And, so when we talk to non-vegans about being vegan, like, we're having good conversations, and like, we're doing it in a very reasonable way. We're not turning people away with these extreme views. We're actually building rapport with them and finding common ground, and just showing them that veganism is not some extreme idea. It's actually a very rational response to the belief that animals, that it's wrong to harm animals unnecessarily, and that animals are sentient beings. So I think, I wish more people were maybe a bit more staunch about it and realize that you can be that way whilst also, having very good rational conversations with non-vegans about it. You don't need, I guess what I'm saying is you don't need to pander to non-vegans. You don't need to pander to them. Like you can still do like advocacy in a, um, yeah, whilst holding a baseline, but in a good way.
Yeah, this makes me very uncomfortable, contrarian, sorry. Like a hierarchy of allies. It's just like, we don't do that for any other cause. Like, the only reason why we create a hierarchy of allies is because animals cannot hold us accountable. like,
Hmm.
like you either are against animal exploitation or you're not. Like, we need like we can't just keep getting away with this like pure utilitarian mental gymnastics to kind of justify stuff. Like
Yeah.
we have to create a rule that people can follow. Like we can use both like rules and consequences. Like we have with humans,
Mhm.
you know, like the rule is not to murder each other. And then if you do, then we like judge it based on its merits. Like, was it in self-defense? Like we have a jury. But I think we need to acknowledge that like oppression leads to the worst outcomes. We need a rule against oppression. Okay, it's wrong to oppress others. And then if you do, then we can look at the consequences of it. But like at the moment, creating like this hierarchy of meat eaters are the worst. Like, what if there's a meat eater that only eats one steak a year? Like, do they then become level 3? And what if there's a vegetarian that eats 365 eggs a year? Like, are they worse than the one meat eater? Like, there's just
Hmm.
like it's just so like we're just creating these like unnecessary gray areas.
Yeah, and I think like this kind of hierarchy view is quite a common one, and even amongst organizations like Animals Australia, they kind of, you know, promote this kind of thing as well, this hierarchy. But I guess I just want to ask with the hierarchy thing, who is that really helpful to? Is it really helpful? Is that the best thing for animals, for humans to kind of create this hierarchy and this, like who's that helping? Is it helping the animals or is it actually helping humans more than the animals? Like, who is it for? I mean, I'm sure you'd say it's for the animals, but like, I feel like it's helping humans more than animals. Like, and what I mean by that is, I think it's making humans feel better about their behavior than really actually accomplishing much for the animals. I think definitely it's time for us to kind of like I think I like what you said earlier, Mark. Like people just need to pick a side. Like, are you against animal exploitation or are you not? And if you are, it makes sense like that you need to align your behavior with that. And I think we are coming to a point where we really need to be almost getting rid of this hierarchy view and really encouraging people to just make that step. Like, pick a side. Like, do you care about animals? Okay, great. Be vegan. Like, that's it. Yeah, I don't like the hierarchy thing
Yeah.
either. I think it does more for humans than animals.
Yeah, Keystone, this like if they're interested and want to get involved, I don't see anything wrong with it as it nurtures their understanding. Yeah, they can get involved how they want, like donate to animal sanctuaries, like put money into like vegan investments, like all of that stuff is probably good. But like, don't call yourself a vegan ally. I think I think that's probably kind of what we're getting at. Is like people can support whatever causes they want, but I don't think they should be called a vegan ally because it's just not true. Like, I don't think they're doing, sorry, but I don't think they're doing enough. And
Yeah.
as we've discussed, like, they're an ally to vegans or are they allied to animals? Like, they
Hmm.
are just not an ally to animals if they're contributing to exploitation. Like, if that's a too hard lined, sorry, but that's probably the one I'm taking.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. Like, yeah, I don't think that this terminology of vegan ally is overall that helpful. I think it probably more so just encourages people to have a way out of like not being vegan, which I don't think is helpful. I think as vegans, we really need to be encouraging people as best we can to be vegan and nothing less. You know, veganism is a moral baseline.
Oh, we agree on something, Keystone. That's good. Yeah, like we understand like we're all just spitballing here, and like, you know, tomorrow we might have a different opinion after like mulling it over. But yeah, I guess this is like we can only just speak about how we feel at the moment, right?
Yeah, true. And yeah, as I don't know, the people watching may have figured out, I guess, in relative to, you know, other vegans and society, I guess we would be considered quite like hardline or extreme vegans, because we do just kind of hold that view that veganism is a moral baseline, and if you care about animals at all, you've got to be vegan and nothing less, really. Anything less is still purposely causing animal exploitation and is probably avoidable animal exploitation as well, and we don't think that that is morally justified. So yeah, I guess we're quite hardline in the sense that we do expect people to do better. You know, we expect them to be vegan, and we're going to keep encouraging them to do that. And yeah, we're not going to kind of like say anything that might give them the idea that it's okay to not be vegan. I guess that's what it kind of comes down to, really. But at the same time, it's like, again, we're still reasonable people. Like when we're talking to non-vegans, we're not like in their face shutting them down, being like, you're an animal abuser, you're an animal exploiter. Like we don't do that. We talk to them in a reasonable way, just, you know, in a respectful kind of conversation. Like we'll just say, hey, yeah, you know, what do you think? Do you care about animals? Do you think that, you know, animals should not be that you shouldn't cause unnecessary harm to them? Well, hey, did you know that in, you know, when you eat animals, when you wear animals, when you eat dairy, eggs, whatever, like that causes them harm? Like we're very reasonable about it. We're hardline in our ethics, but when we talk to people, like we're still very reasonable about it. We're not like in their face calling them like animal abusers and stuff like you see some vegans doing. And if they say to us, yeah, well, you know, I only just eat like a little bit of meat, or like I'm mostly vegetarian or something like that, we don't say to them like, well, that's horrible, like that's not good enough, what are you doing? You know, we'll say to them like, oh, okay, well, usually I will say, and how come you're doing that? Like, how come you're eating less meat? Or, you know, and then they'll usually say, you know, because they care about animals in some way or another. And then I'll be like, okay, well, have you considered actually being vegan? Or, you know, so yeah. So I think just to clarify, because I know some of the comments, it's like, well, you know, you're going to turn people away if you're too hardline. I don't think that's the case. I think that you can be hardline in your ethics, but still talk to non-vegans in a reasonable way and still have those expectations of them. And sorry, I know I just blabbered a lot, but had to get that out there.
Yeah. Also, we're still waiting for Contrarian to get here. I think they said they were going to walk from California last week, and they haven't arrived. So I don't know if we should send out the search party.
Yeah, I do remember that comment. Yeah. All right, we got to wrap up
We'd be
soon.
worried about it.
We've got to wrap up soon. What's this comment? I think Melanie is just riffing off the associate membership idea, which was to support the vegan society. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I didn't know that it originally came from the vegan society. Did they use the term vegan ally though, or was it just?
They said associate membership. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, associate membership. Yeah. That's interesting.
It's actually hard to look up information. Like there wasn't really clear. You kind of have to read between the lines a little bit when you're reading some of their position papers and things like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I understand it at the very start, you know, even they were new trying to figure out all this stuff and how it worked.
Hmm. Um,
That's good.
Mark, can you get rid of the screen thing so that it's just us to end the video? Okay, thank
Hello.
you. All right. Cool. Well, that was an interesting discussion today. So, yeah, I guess to summarize very quickly, 30-second summary. The term vegan ally is kind of used for people who are essentially not vegan, but they may want to, for some reason, help out the vegan cause. I guess Mark and I, we kind of think that that's a little bit nonsensical. If you care about animals and you like, vegans don't need allies, animals need allies. And if you want to be an ally to animals, you kind of got to be vegan. And we also think that, like saying what like Melanie Joy said, like you don't have to be fully vegan to help animals. Like that is not helpful because it's almost like you're giving non-vegans permission to continue to not be vegan, but then they can still feel like they are doing something, or they can still feel, good about what they're doing. And
Elliot, you are so late to the party.
oh, we're about to finish up. We've already been going for an hour. So yeah, that's the summary. So yeah, we think the idea of a vegan ally is not really that great. We probably wouldn't use that terminology. We don't think it's that helpful. But
Yeah,
some
maybe
of
just
the people watching maybe have different views.
yeah, maybe like the kind of idea of someone helping in some capacity, like we agree that probably helps, but I think that labeling it, that granting permission, I think that's probably where we differ.
Yeah. And in summary, we think it is also really important to hold standards and expectations of non-vegans that they really should be vegan. We're not really going to accept people just being like, oh, yeah, I care about animals, but, don't really want to be vegan, so I'm just going to be a vegan ally. Like, I don't accept that, and I think we need to have a bit more standards of people to do better.
All right. Thank you very much for tuning in, Keystone and Contrarian. Like it's so different doing these talks with people contributing and things. Like even if we don't agree initially, like obviously we'll go away and think about all this stuff more deeply, and yeah, just helps our advocacy a lot.
Yeah, I would also accept tech support from a non-vegan. I don't know what that was meant to mean, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for joining in. And do we have a topic for next week yet, or we're still deciding?
I think we're going to be interviewing, hopefully, one of our fellow vegans in Adelaide.
Oh, yes. Hopefully interviewing someone. Yeah.
So we've got to figure out how to run an interview in the next week.
Oh, see, we've done one before with my sister.
Yeah, that was pretty ad hoc, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if depends if you like that style.
Yeah. It's all right. We're on it. All right. See ya. See everyone.
Same time next week. See ya.
Yep. Bye.